Good day and welcome back to another Breaking the Super Armor event. So this one is going to be the versus tech type, so we're going to be using the int type units, or we're going to try and use int type units. So obviously guys, a couple things just as a heads up. So of course, when it comes to the Breaking the Super Armor events, there's two things you need to know. Firstly, movie heroes and movie boss characters will have increased damage. Secondly, if the unit does not have the correct typing, then you're not going to have a good time. So basically, to cut a long story short, you need to make sure you have both the good typing and usually the category bonus to have a good time here. Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot of good selection of units for movie heroes or movie bosses. If you look at movie bosses, for example, the best option is probably Broly. So the Super Saiyan Broly is probably your best option due to the fact that he has the ability to fire multiple super attacks. And obviously, yeah, that's only really possible if he is facing pure Saiyan's enemies. So realistically, even if you have a Rainbow Broly, the most super attacks you can fire in one turn is 3. Then you have Metal Cooler, also a decent option. Metal Cooler is a pretty solid option overall. Obviously, again, a unit that has the ability to fire possibly 3 super attacks in a turn. He's a very decent option. I'll probably say out of all of the options, he is the most decent one for you to build around. So if you want to try and build a team around Metal Cooler, then I think that's decent. Then otherwise the rest of the options are not too great in terms of their usability from the movie bosses side. Then if you take a look at the movie heroes side, there's pretty much no int movie heroes except for obviously the Gogeta. Then you've got the Goku and Piccolo, and then you also have the Super Saiyan God, Goku and Vegeta. Now the Super Saiyan God, Goku and Vegeta are obviously a pretty decent choice in that they have a high chance of launching an additional super attack, which is obviously, you know, pretty decent, but only in the first 3 turns. And then obviously from then onwards, you look at whether you can switch over to being Vegeta. And again, yeah, also not really the greatest chance of firing additional super attacks. So you're kind of sitting in an awkward situation when it comes to which units to use. If you are looking overall at what team I think could work, I think if you don't have the double Super Saiyan Blue Vegetas like I currently have, I think the next bet for you as a person is to have the Easy Aid Super Gogeta, the int one. I think having him and then having a friend version of him is also pretty good, and then having the Android 18 and Krillin unit that I am using in this stage is also very good. So that Super Gogeta is a pretty solid option, just due to the fact that basically, you know, if you get like his super attacks going off, he can at least fire, you know, 2 super attacks, which is decent. And generally speaking, with the bonus and with his attack damage, he should be fine. Alternatively, of course, you do also have the Goku and Piccolo, who should also be a pretty decent unit. They have a high chance of launching up to 2 additional attacks, which is pretty good. And I think overall, they have that ability to launch an additional super attack every time they've launched 6 or more attacks in battle, which you should be able to get in this event. So Piccolo and Goku, Super Saiyan Gogeta, but the Android 18 and Krillin are probably your best kind of free-to-play option. The reason being, so Android 18 and Krillin, to cut a long story short, are a pretty solid choice from the perspective of that they change physical key spheres to int key spheres, which is very good, and then they launch an additional super attack with 6 or more key spheres obtained. So they have a guaranteed additional super attack. And now if you bring orb changing items and they change orbs well enough, between the orb changing items, the extra 5% from there, the extra 25% from your Belma item, and the fact that they can build up attack permanently, you should be able to get them to fire at least one, well, they will fire at least 2 super attacks. Not to mention those super attacks will be pretty beefy because of the fact that you've now used the orb changing item, which means they'll be hitting pretty hard. And then also on top of all of that, they have the chance to launch a 3rd additional super attack. So let's say you're running double into Gogeta leads. If you run double into Gogeta and you have a rotation of into Gogeta, Krillin at 18 and into Gogeta, it's a little bit of RNG, but generally you only need one of those 3 to fire off 1 additional attack from their hidden potential system. And since all 3 of them should be built into full additional, it shouldn't be impossible. And since you can take an Int Gogeta as your lead and take a Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta as a friend lead, you shouldn't have that big a problem. Obviously, you know, it is just going to be entirely dependent on how you do in terms of RNG, because it's going to depend on where your units line up. But that's kind of the best way to go about it, at least from what I can see. Now, if you have the Super Saiyan Blue Vegetas, if you're running the same strategy I am, then you don't have that big an issue. And the reason being is because with the Super Saiyan Blue Vegetas, you have their active skill. And their active skill is obviously super duper helpful. So if you look at their active skill, the active skill kind of carries the run, and that's why a lot of people are doing the double Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta build. The active skill really kind of covers up a lot of their faults. So obviously they're not on the categories required, but basically they cause mega colossal damage to all enemies with the final explosion. So it's basically like an AoE version of their super attack. And the fact that you can build Vegeta into, you know, with his crit chances and everything that he has, generally speaking, you should be able to take them out with the AoE. Especially if you flood the system with support, which is kind of what we do here. So if you take a look, you'll notice that we have a lot of support on this team. This team kind of functions very heavily with support. You've got support in the form of Kaba, you've got support in the form of the Master Roshi and Tien. And the idea is that if you activate the active skill while they have a lot of support active, then generally speaking, you end up having a pretty good time in terms of taking out the enemy. Now, again, it is very easy if you have double Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. But if you don't have Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Evolved Vegeta, your best bet is probably to just use Int type Gogeta. That's easy aid, and then to run this exact same lineup. You might just need a little bit of luck on some rotations, but you should be more than fine. If you have Goku and Piccolo, it's also a pretty good pick, and I would highly suggest that you get them involved as well, because yeah, it is just going to be a lot better, basically, as a pick. But yeah, otherwise, those are kind of where it comes down to in terms of builds. That's pretty much where everything lies. Personally speaking, the N-type one was probably the easiest one because of the fact that you can use the Super Saiyan Evolved Vegeta active skill. But yeah, if you obviously don't have them, you are going to suffer a bit more. Like I said, best bet, just use an N-type Gogeta, switch in this Vegeta, and just kind of see where things go from there. It'll require a bit more RNG, but you should be okay. Ideally, try and get Android 18 and Krillin onto the final turn as well. Their ability to fire 3 super attacks is pretty nutty, and is going to help you out a lot. But that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the video, and wish you guys good luck. Cheers, and bye.